My name's Destiny, and I was asked to report.
My name is Ryan, and when I was a teenager, I had an abortion.
My name is Jessica. I wasn't aborted, I was adopted.
I was diagnosed when I was 15 years old with a blood disorder where my body doesn't produce white cells, red cells, and platelets. I was told that I was not able to have children. I was told that I was not able to ever become a mother. I couldn't carry a child, let alone have a child. So I received blood transfusions every week just to stay alive. And in 2015, I went into treatment, and I was in treatment for a full year. And when I came out of treatment, it was unsuccessful, and the doctor told me that the only way for me to continue life is to get a bone marrow transplant. I went and matched with my sister's a half match. I did not have a full match at the time, and the doctor said that the doctor told me that that was the only way that I would be able to live a life beyond that year. And so I went to fasting and prayer, and I asked God, what is it that you want me to do? Do you want me to do the bone marrow transplant? And I was signed on for doing a transplant in May of 2016. And one day God woke me up and he said to tell my sister that she doesn't have to do it, that he was gonna take care of me and not to get the transplant. And so I went in to the doctor and I told him that I wasn't gonna get transplant. And he instilled a lot of fear in me about it being the only option and the only way. But I knew that God had a different plan, and I was trusting his plan. And that week I had, it was the beginning of summer, and I had like a million ants all over the kitchen and all over the house. And I was massacring ants like every single day, tons of them. And one day in my fasting and prayer, I went to sleep and I had a dream that, and God came to me and he said, there's life no matter how small. And when I woke up, I was like freaked out, thinking like I have to save every ant in the house. And I was like, I'm not going to like kill anything. So every spider, every ant was living in my house for like a full week. And I went to the doctor the week that I was supposed to do transplant, and he did some testing. And the week that I was supposed to do chemo and radiation the week before transplant that I had canceled. And the day of transplant, I found out that I was 4 weeks pregnant. And had I gone through radiation and chemotherapy, that baby that was inside of me would have never been detected. And so I knew that God had a purpose and a plan, and that there was a life there. My family ridiculed me. They told me that I was not doing the safe thing. They told me that it was, how could I be so stupid? How could I do this in my health condition? Why wasn't I smarter? Why didn't I think to use protection or do something different? Even though I was in marriage, I still got ridiculed about all of that because I wasn't doing the safe thing. I never even knew that I could get pregnant. I just thought it wasn't an option for me. So I knew that it was all in God's hands. When I went to see the doctor, I was already scared. I was already nervous because everybody had already told me what they thought. And so when I went to sit down with him and I told him I'm pregnant, he just told me no. And I was like, well, I'm pregnant. And he said no. And he told me no about 3 or 4 times, and then said, you can't be pregnant. There's no way that you can be pregnant. Your body can't carry this baby. You can't live week to week. You don't have enough blood. You don't have enough platelets. If that baby starts growing in your body, she's gonna pull something, kick something. You're gonna internally bleed. There's no way. Even if you make it 2 months, you won't make it to 7 months. You won't. And even if you make it all the way to 9 months, and he almost like if you make it to 9 months, you won't be able to deliver because you'll bleed. You don't have enough blood. As he just starts speaking these things over me, I felt like for the first time in my life, like I disconnected out of the room, and I was like, I felt this like outer body experience, and I just like hear him talking, but I just like entered back in the room when he says these words. It's so small right now, you can just abort it and we can just move forward. And right then, my dream just came right into my like line of vision where God said, there's life no matter how small. And with tears filled in my eyes, I told him, no, you're wrong, and God's gonna do this. And right then, he told me, well, I'm gonna disagree with you, and he looked me right in the eyes and said, like, this is not smart. It's not smart for you to do this. I left that day, and it wasn't easy. I still had a lot of opposition. My body I knew I was saying yes to God, but my body still had opposition. I still had to go through many transfusions almost every other day. The bigger that my belly grew, the harder it got. I was always in the hospital, always in ER. It was a struggle. Like, nobody really celebrated with me in pregnancy. Nobody was really like excited, and it wasn't because they didn't love me. It was because they loved me. They had so much fear about me losing my life in this time, and so it was really challenging. And a lot of the time, I just had to stay close to God and fasting and prayer, and believe that He was speaking something over my life and over the life that was growing inside of me, regardless what other people were telling me, regardless of what other people were saying over me. When it got down to the ending, because I passed 2 months, I passed 7 months, and when it got down to 8 months, the doctor was just like, the baby's doctor was fighting the regular doctor, and they were both going back and forth and saying, you know, you need to have this baby at 34 weeks, and you need to have C-section, it needs to be controlled, you need to have blood transfusions and platelet transfusions. And then the baby's doctor was saying, no, you can't have the baby at 34 weeks, she won't be developed, she won't be strong enough, and it's not safe, and it's probably best to do it naturally, and if we cut you open, you're still gonna end up bleeding. And so even with my two doctors, there was so much opposition. They both were going out of medical journals, they were both trying to figure something out that had never been seen before. It had never been done before. And so they were just trying to do what they could best do. And so I got to 34 weeks, and I remember the doctors fighting, and then while I was fasting and praying over my womb, I felt God called to me and say, what do you want? And I was like, what do you mean, what do I want? Like, what are you gonna do, God? Like, I don't know. I've just been sitting here kind of just praying through this. And I felt like God say, no, what do you want? I'm giving you a choice. You partnered with me for this, what do you want? And I said, I don't want to wait till 40 weeks because it's just too long and this is really stressful. But I don't want her to be underdeveloped, and I don't want to have her at 36 weeks or 34 weeks. At 36 weeks, I knew she would be fully developed, but at 37 weeks, she would be full term, not premature. And so I told God, I want her at 37 weeks, and I want her to be fully healthy, and I want her to be born naturally. And I continued on for 2 more weeks, and at 36 weeks, I was sitting in church and praying over my belly and singing songs about God parting the seas so I could walk right through it, and singing songs of heaven coming to earth. And as I was praying over my belly, I started feeling pain in my back, and I went in that day to the hospital, and everybody was afraid, everybody was scared, people were praying over me, people stayed up all night. I was there for 3 days. I got there Sunday, and Tuesday night they broke my water. I was monitored really closely. Everybody was like sitting on the edge of their seats, texting to see what was happening with me at the hospital. My heart rate was going up, the baby's heart rate was going up. I felt the real pain of labor. It wasn't easy. God didn't pardon me on that part. It was really painful, it was a lot. The baby would not come down. And so in that moment, the doctor said, if the baby doesn't come down by 3 a.m., we're gonna have to move you into C-section. I felt the Holy Spirit over me. There was worship in the room. There was essential oils. There was just the fragrance of the Lord in there. And the nurses kept coming in and saying, this is like, I feel like a peace in here, even though like they knew what was it like, they knew my life was on the line, and this was a final moment that I needed God to show up. Nobody would really talk about it because everybody knew that it was life or death at this moment, and it was not just one life, it was 2 lives in this moment. And I remember the doctor saying, it's 3 a.m. and like the baby is knocked down, so we're gonna have to move into C-section. He left and he came back. He said, I don't know what just happened, but you're ready to push. She's down. They said, hold on, and I'm like, hold on, the Lord's got this. I'm not holding on. And so I started pushing, and the baby came out screaming, and she was born February 1st, 2017, fully healthy, lacking nothing. She was born to the day, 37 weeks. Wednesday morning made her 37 weeks old, which means that she was not premature by the day. I was completely healthy. I had a normal delivery. I didn't have any loss of blood, completely normal, completely healthy. And to show that it was God, I went 7 months after that without any blood transfusion or anything. So I believe that it's partnering with God's yes, and that's all we have to do, and He shows up and He does the rest. It's not about like, it's real, it's really real, it's really, really real. It's everything. You go through the emotion, you go through the pain, you go through the full experience of life, but knowing that God is in full control, that's what completely makes it worth it.
So when I was a teenager, my girlfriend at the time and I ended up getting pregnant, and the only thing we had in mind was having an abortion. There was no other choice, just because of our thoughts was we were too young, our parents would probably kill us, and at that moment it just felt like there was no other option. There wasn't anybody feeding into our lives that there was another option. Neither one of us grew up in the church, so it was it didn't, like, looking back on it now, it's sad to say that there wasn't any choice. So we went through with I feel like we kind of swept it under the rug and just carried on our relationship, and you know, that ended up ending. The relationship ended, and a while later, with a girlfriend, we ended up getting pregnant, and so this is my second time, you know, being pregnant. But this time around, there was no other choice other than having the baby. At the time, I don't know how much it impacted my life, and that decision of not having another abortion, but something in me was saying no, like, I cannot go through that again. And my girlfriend at the time, you know, she was scared, you know, because it was her family, everybody. It was just, she knew that everybody was gonna come down hard on her because we were so young, but there was just no other option. And so we went through with it. We had our baby, and she's been the biggest blessing of my life. And that decision has made an impact not only in my life, not only in her life, but also in people's lives around us, because how much of a blessing my daughter is to other people. And it's really unexplainable when people say, man, your daughter is so wonderful, your daughter is so amazing, because it's nothing that I did other than saying yes to having her, no matter who wanted to come at us about not having her, you know, no matter where the funds were going to come from, no matter what our families were going to think, or friends, because we're so young, and being so young and having a baby, we didn't care. And I just thank God that we ended up going through with it, and now I have an amazing 12-year-old daughter, and that's where I'm at today. And I feel like as a man, there's not many men stepping up as having a voice and being advocates against abortion, because a man carries a seed since puberty. We literally carry this seed. So, and the women hold the baby. So just as much as the woman has a right to say no, the man has a right to say yes to having a baby. So in this time right now, I really have allowed the Lord to work in my heart and shape me to be the man I am today, and be an advocate for pro-life. And that's where I stand today.
I was adopted. When I was 5 years old, my biological parents were in and out of jail. From the time I was born to the time that I was 5 years old, they were in and out of jail. They were addicted to drugs. They were abusive. You think of it, that's probably what they've done. When I was 5 years old, a social worker came to the house multiple times and would tell us, if you don't get things fixed, she's going to be taken away, she's going to be put in the system. I got placed into my new forever home. At first I was scared. I struggled with a lot of abandonment issues. I didn't know what love was. I went into a home where my new foster father was, struggling with his own issues. I knew God had a plan for my life. I knew that He wouldn't just throw me in some random place and abandon me. He had a plan from the day that I was born to today, and even way beyond what I can imagine. At the age of 11, my father became a pastor, and with all that transitioning in his life, it kind of rearranged his heart. And at that time, my biological mom actually called me and told me that I had 2 younger sisters. I had no idea about them, and she pretty much asked me to convince my parents if they would be willing to take them in as well. Usually it's not normal for people to just say, yeah, go ahead, throw 2 kids in, that's fine. And mind you, they weren't older. One of them was 11 months and the other was only 3 weeks. So you can imagine how, fresh and new that was to them, because they haven't had that in a while. So they thought about it, prayed about it, and they eventually said yes. So fast forward a couple years later, and they also got adopted with me. So now I have 2 of my blood sisters living with me, which is a blessing in itself, because like I said, what person would take in 3 random kids that they've never met, they've never, they don't know anything about them. They're allowing strangers into their house. But with all that to be said, I am so thankful that they raised me to be the person I am today. And without all of this happening, I would have never met my amazing husband that I don't know what I would do without him. He has helped me, keep on going with life even when things get hard. And to say God has blessed me with an amazing man is an understatement. He has gone above and beyond. I thank my parents more than anything, because they taught me what real love is and how to look for the perfect man. And I'm glad that they taught me that, because I wouldn't be where I am today.
Hey guys, Vashti here. My heart behind having, gathering these beautiful humans and getting to shed light on their story was simply to bring light to the idea of pro-life and advocating for that, for the babies in the womb. If any of you guys have had an abortion in the past, whether it be 10 years ago or 5 years ago or a year ago or yesterday, there's redemption and there's grace for that. God is such a loving Father that welcomes all of us in, no matter the past we come in with. And so I definitely want to extend the invite to accept healing in that area, to fully walk in the healing of that. I also wanted to kind of like jump into the idea that there is options for those of you who have, who've gone through things, and if you are right now in a scare of even pregnancy, I want to let you know that there are options. I've definitely looked up a ton of nonprofit organizations that, that bring mothers in along with their child or children, and they help feed them and they help house them. So there's definitely those options. There's the option of like Jessica's beautiful story, adoption. I know so many parents who are struggling with having children and they would long to be able to adopt a child. And so there's those options. There's options that are unmentioned. And so I definitely want to encourage you to seek out God's direction in this area of your life, and if you can, get connected with the church, get connected with people who are going to support you and encourage you in whatever decision that you decide to make. For those of you who might be in a similar situation where you're currently battling between what you should do, and you have the weight of everyone's voices around you that are kind of pressuring you into a decision, I just want to let you know that in being guided by God, there's beauty in that. There's beauty in bringing honor to God by making the right decision, by seeing life as a full life, whether it be a week old or 9 months. And so I just want to encourage you guys to fully welcome in God into decision making in this area. We love you.
What gave me the courage was that I knew that God in heaven was for me and not against me, and even if the world was against my decisions, I was partnering with what God wanted to do, and I knew that no matter what, I could not go wrong. Anytime that we partner with God, He honors that and He fulfills promises, and He's a God of creation, so He would bring that to pass.
I would tell somebody in the same position that I was in that there's a better way than to run away. There's a living purpose inside of the belly of whether you're a woman or you're the man that your girlfriend has a baby inside of you. That baby has a purpose. And the blessings come when that baby comes out and lives in the world. No matter what your life looks like, that baby has a chance to live a different life. That baby has an opportunity to be something amazing. That baby has the baby's living. The baby has so much opportunity in this world. No matter who in your life is telling you what to do, you have a choice. You have a choice to say yes. There's so many programs out there to help you. It may be hard, it may be difficult, we don't hear about it all the time. But I would tell that person to really seek it out. That yes, God gives grace. God gives grace. He gave me grace in my first no. But that grace empowered me to give my yes. That grace has empowered me to raise an amazing daughter that has a plan and purpose, that brings joy, that brings life. So that baby inside of you is going to bring so much life to somebody.
If I could say anything to the younger version of myself, I would probably tell her that everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be tough, it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be one of the best moments of your life because it's gonna make you very strong, and you're gonna have an incredible story to share with people, and you're gonna lead people in a way that you never thought was possible. And you're gonna be the friend and the mother and the leader that, you know, God has called you to be, and you just have to go with it. And don't be scared. Trust in God, and everything will be fine.
So I feel like not only in the time that we're in right now, with the Supreme Court justice, with you know, a vote for the presidency, you know, how important pro-life is. I feel it's more, it gets deeper than that. There are taxes for abortions that we didn't even say yes to. Our government has said, hey, we're taking taxes away from you to support abortions. Why can't those taxes be set up to help adoptions, to help people that were like me as a kid, that I felt like there was no other way than to have an abortion? But why can't there be programs set up to say, hey, we're gonna take this family in. We're gonna take this family in and help you. Whether, you know, it hurts my heart. I'm so sorry if you become pregnant with incest or with rape, but that baby has a life. That doesn't change who the baby is at all. That baby is still precious. That baby is still loving and caring, and it has a chance. So I just feel that this is way beyond being pro-life or pro-choice. And I feel that right now, people have such a view of like protecting their own body. And I understand where a lot of pro-choice women are saying, no, this is my body, don't tell me what to do. Because even me as a kid, and having authority over me, when I was told what to do, it puts me on the defensive. It's like, no, don't tell me what to do with my own body. So I have an understanding of where, you know, a pro-choice person can stand. So I feel like it just reminds me of Jesus sitting down with the woman at the well. Like Jesus came down to her level, and he not only offered her his life, like he offered her his life, but he also called her out on her sin and said, hey, this isn't right. You need to turn away from that, but I'll give you living water. I'll give you a better life. I'll give you a better way. And I feel us as Christians need to represent that exactly where this is, like sitting down with the person who was considering abortion. It's to sit with them and see where their heart is at, and not just tell them what to do, but know where their heart is at and tell them and show them that there is a better way. So what I've learned through this and speaking with the Lord and Him, you know, just touching my heart and giving me grace for my abortion, the first abortion, but saying yes to my daughter, is that we need to sit with people where they're at and know their heart and show them the heart of the Father, and that there's blessings in having this baby, and that there's a better way.